Hi, good morning. My name is Matt Wilson, and some of you will know me as Natalie's hubby. I do have the extreme good fortune to be married to the beautiful Natalie Flowers. We've been married for over 16 years now, met about 19 years ago. So it's kind of unbelievable just how amazing that journey has been too. By way of background, Natalie asked me to jump on here to share a little bit with you about how I view Savvi, what the last 2 months have been like since she jumped in, and share with you some of my experience. So, started my career as an intelligence officer in the United States Navy, went to Harvard Business School, got my MBA, then became a private equity investor, and joined a financial technology startup 6 years ago. Natalie came home 7 years ago, having joined another direct selling company, and said, I am going to retire you from your private equity job, and I'm going to do it in 2 years. Now, at the time, we were living on the water in Hawaii, very nice life, okay, decent income, starting to grow, finally felt like we had breakthrough. I saw where we could take this, and she came home with that. And the reason she did, because we didn't have our time. We didn't have the chance to do what we wanted to do. We had one child and one on the way, and she was feeling stuck at home. She'd been a hairstylist before, and now she wasn't able to go out there and be around a lot of women and changing lives. And so she saw this as a vehicle to do that. So she did it. Within a couple of years, hit the top of the pay plan, generated enough income that I was able to jump from private equity investing to join a startup, taking on more career risk, was there at the startup for 3 years. And then because of how her prior direct sales business had gone, I was actually able to step away from full-time employment for 2 years, joined the board of that company, and then worked with Natalie on building a coaching business called Muscle and Mindset to transform how women view their minds, how they view their bodies, and then adding in the nutrition component as well as the fitness component to completely transform how they live their lives, get comfortable in their own skin. And so we did that. Then fast forward, this past January, I was looking for something to really sink my teeth into, wanting to get back into some of the action and some of the stuff I'd been doing before. I got a call from that same company to come back as the chief financial officer, jump back in, and that's been about 8 months. Crazy how all that came together, especially right before the pandemic struck, and I was able to help lead that team to a very successful outcome thus far. So, business context, timing context. Having studied hundreds of businesses, invested in businesses, been a part of startups, let me tell you, timing matters. And that's what Natalie saw when she saw Savvi about 2 months ago. She had been sitting on multiple six-figure annual income, could have done nothing, but she had a bigger dream, a bigger heart, a bigger why, and that was she wanted to go out there and change more lives. She wanted to fund more clean water wells. 4 years ago, went to Africa, saw a huge need for clean water and how so many kids at this children's hospital were dying for lack of clean water, which to her was completely unacceptable. God put on her heart to fund 100 clean water wells. Problem with that, they cost about $50,000 each. You need to generate some income to be able to go do that and enlist the help of others, frankly, as well. So she saw Savvi as the opportunity to do that. When Savvi came across her plate, God put on her heart, this is your well builder. And so she couldn't sit back and be just comfortable and just be like thinking that her and her family were taken care of. She had to jump into this because of that. So why does timing matter? Natalie has had more people join her in the business over the last 2 months than she had in their first 2 years in her other business. Timing matters. Huge, right? So when you catch a wave, you want to catch a wave and have it propel you forward. It's so much easier than trying to go against the current or even if there is no current, right? So if once an opportunity becomes mature, you no longer have that significant momentum behind it. It's kind of stalled out. It might have incremental growth, but it's not going to have transformational growth. Savvi, 2 months ago, and even to this day, right, is still in pre-launch. It's going to be in pre-launch for another few months before the beginning of the year. So it's so ground floor and yet has all the pieces coming together. It's got the product, they're improving the technology, they're putting all these elements together. So people are seeing what a great opportunity this is to jump in. The other thing is this company can go global incredibly quickly. When you have a clothing line, you don't have to worry about the same type of restrictions that you would, let's say, with a nutrition company where you have to have certain labeling or FDA equivalents across the world. You also don't have to deal with the same challenges that, say, for instance, like a skincare company would have with certain ingredients being banned in Europe or being banned in Asia or Australia or other markets that you're going to. This company can go global incredibly quickly. And that is why Natalie is also super excited, because the US opportunity is good, but we have friends in the direct selling channel who are at the top, and 80% plus of their team and their sales are international. Only a small part is here in the United States. So that is crazy exciting. It's also catching this major trend. Athleisure wear is in. Natalie doesn't wear anything but leggings. She wears shorts every once in a great while, right? But this is in. It is so in. They're comfortable. People are wearing them. Even during the pandemic, athleisure wear sales went up, not down. And so when you catch a business that only has a product that's on a trend, but also at the early stages of that business, the opportunities are huge. There was this amazing story. A painter painted an office wall at a Facebook office back in the early days of Facebook. And they asked him, would you rather have cash or a piece of the company, shares in the company for doing the painting? And he said, well, I'll take some piece of the company. Fast forward, Facebook goes public and his shares were worth over $100 million. Now, you can't tell me that didn't have anything to do with timing, because you could go buy the shares of Facebook today and they're going to go up and down. They're bouncing around in the public market. It's already a $500 billion plus company. But back then it was small. It was early days. When you catch something before the momentum phase, you can have exponential growth. And it's so much easier when you have growth to build a big team rapidly. And we're not just talking right now about 100% growth. We're talking about growth like 50 to 100% month over month, not just per year. So growth in Savvi right now is crazy. And Natalie's success, she's had more people join her in the last 2 months, I think I mentioned this already, than she had in the first 2 years of her other business. And part of the reason for that is because what you learned about direct sales is you can join when it's in the growth phase, but once it's out of the early days, there's an amazing growth period, and you can catch that wave then too, but you don't get the same type of rewards as when you catch it earlier. And that's what she saw with this opportunity, and she had to jump into it. She's been loving it. The team has been unbelievable. And then here's something else we've learned about direct sales, frankly. When you talk about team, when you talk about leadership, is that, and this is true for business, just period. There is no business that can just go completely passive and ignore what's happening around it and yet want to still be successful. Every amazing business has top quality leadership, because there's going to be competition coming. You have to say no to so many things in order to focus on what you do best. And you have to understand the industry that you're in, the channel that you're in, and what's happening inside that. The founders of Savvi have decades of experience in direct sales. And I can't tell you how valuable it is, because I've seen other companies where they had direct sales experience and then traded them out for people who did not have direct sales experience, and that stalled out the growth from then forward. Because there's a different understanding of when you're working with people in building an entrepreneurial ecosystem of self-motivated people to go out and build a huge giant movement, as compared to just being a sales and distribution arm for product. And so that understanding resides in the founders of Savvi and the leadership team of Savvi. And I believe will actually continue as they continue to build out the leadership team, they're going to have that as top of mind, because they recognize just how important that is. Products, leadership, timing. Savvi had all those coming together, so much so that Natalie said, this is an opportunity that I can share with women that I know that they will be able to get the same win in their lives and in their business that I was able to get in my prior business. And that's why she was so excited, because that's what her heart is about. She didn't have to do anything, but she had to, because when she saw it, she couldn't ignore it. And another thing I'll just drop in here is that there are certain times in your life where you're presented with an opportunity and you just know it's right and you know you have to do it. That was how Natalie was with her prior business. It dropped in her lap and she's like, I have to do this. I see the opportunity for what it is. When this came along, same thing. And at first she was actually slightly hesitant. She was like, okay, I'm going to do it, but maybe I'll just do it a little bit. And then probably within 30 seconds later, and God putting on her heart that this was her well builder, she's like, what am I thinking? I don't do anything just a little bit. I'm going to do this. This is going to be huge and it's worth doing. When I met Natalie, 19 years ago. We had one conversation, super long conversation, and I learned what this amazing girl was all about. Within 48 hours, I told her, I'm done looking. I just put it out there. And she said, me too. And that was 19 years ago. We've been married for 16 plus years. Sometimes when you're presented with an opportunity and you know the timing is right, you know it connects with something inside you, what you've been looking for finds you, then you decide quickly and you act on it and you go, and then you just figure out the rest from there. Andrew Carnegie presented an opportunity to a young man. Now, Andrew Carnegie was one of the richest men in the world at the time, had built the US steel industry around the turn of the prior century, built the railroads, all kinds of stuff. One of those huge like robber baron magnates, but studied what made men successful. And he had this young man in front of him and he commissioned him. He said, I want you to capture my philosophy of success and I want you to spend the next 20 years of your life doing it. But I'm not going to pay you. You're going to have to figure out your own way to make money, but that's part of like the secret sauce of learning how to be successful is you need to go also then go and apply it. I'm not going to pay you. Andrew Carnegie then pulled out a stopwatch under his desk and started the timer. And he said, will you take on this assignment? 29 seconds later, that individual said, yes, I will. And then went on to write a series of best-selling books and really founded an entirely new industry. He said yes within 29 seconds. Andrew Carnegie gave him 60 seconds to say yes. Why? Because Andrew Carnegie had realized that when he presented people with an opportunity, if they saw it for what it was, if it connected something inside of them, they would go through whatever difficulties that presented themselves, whatever obstacles came up, because they knew that they were going to go be successful at doing it, and they would decide quickly and then figure out the rest. That's kind of a crazy story when you think about it. Like one idea being dropped into another man's mind and heart that then becomes like their life calling. But sometimes things just come along that way and then you decide and you know. So my challenge to you, if you're listening to me, you're thinking about this, is if this connects with you in some way, like make that decision and then you'll figure out the rest after that. So thanks for letting me hop on here and share, and so excited to be on this journey with you.